Welcome back. It's the Scaling Secrets podcast. Colin Sprake is here, who is an inventor and a mentor. He helps companies grow to 7 to 10 figures and then exit for big multiples. Now, Colin is a global authority on helping companies growing and scaling, avoiding the pitfalls, doing things right, going at a fast enough speed. He has an MBA in finance and an engineering background, and he is going to tell us what we need to know to get the right people in our corner, to stop wasting time, and to achieve some massive success. So, Colin, glad to be speaking with you.
My pleasure to be here, Robert, and to some of the listeners today. I mean, I'm a big fan of helping people. If you ask me what my number one thing is every day when I wake up, is how can I touch more lives today? Because that's who I am and what drives my soul and what my purpose is on this planet.
I love that. And that's a great way to wake up and a great goal, isn't it? Because it's puts you in the right direction, but it's also achievable. You're not looking to upend the orbit of the entire planet every single day. You're just saying, hey, who can I help today? So that way I can do this little part and I can be consistent. And so we introduced you a little bit and read a little bit of your bio, but in your own words, what just besides helping people, what has you super excited, focused, energized these days?
Oh my goodness, man! He's like, we might need 3 hours for that answer. So, it's really the big thing that energizes me and fills my cup is the businesses that I now get to own, support, and mentor along their journeys. All have an aspect of helping other people. So now I own a septic company. We're growing that really quickly at the moment through acquisition. And the young gentleman that was part of that with me, or is part of that with me, Robert, is he's from the Cayman Islands, and he's like, Colin, I hadn't been away for 5 years, and then in 1 year I go twice to the Cayman Islands because the company's grown enough now that he can actually go and take vacations and do different things with his family. That's what drives me. So that's what inspires me, motivates me every day. I have another company, which is a handyman company with franchisees. My goal is not to create this really big, massive franchise company that's so successful. Yes, that's the secondary thing. The primary, how do you help more people become very successful franchisees with us, where they go home, impact that financial strength impacts their family, impacts their community, and makes this planet just better. So that's a focus that motivates me, inspires me every single day. When I get out of bed, there's a bounce in my step. There's probably a bigger bounce in my step in my 50s than there was in my 20s, because I now have the ability to support, love, and be kind to others through being able to bring them into a business where we can give them the rails to run on. So that's the key piece to me. It's like, if anyone's listening, just what drives you every single day? For sure, you can say money drives you, but at the end of the day, don't make money your driver. Money gives you the opportunity to do so many great things to help others.
I love it. Money is just the middle piece, right? It's just what it helps you to do other things, and that's really great advice right off the bat. This just people sometimes wonder how to get their motivation back, or it goes up and down. But you're saying that people are the answer, right? You have these franchisees. You're like, hey, I'm excited that this guy gets to take more vacations and spend time with his family, and I'm helping his life. And if I don't jump up and do the things that need to be done and make those hard decisions and have those conversations, then I'm letting him down. So I have to step up. I have to help these people.
It's so cool, Robert. It's just a big part of my nature of who I am, and I went through like some terrible challenges as a teenager, through bullying and everything else. So I've always been about the underdog and supporting other people to get to that next level. And when you see people doing things that they never thought they could ever do with their family, with their friends, go on vacations, go and enjoy life the way that life should be on this planet, that to me is why I do what I do every single day. It's not making money. Anyone can make money. And everyone who's listening goes, Colin, it's not that easy. It actually is quite easy. Making money is not like, for me, I'll give you my favorite statement of all business. I was actually out with a friend of mine just recently, and he said, Colin, you have this one crazy statement you use all the time, and I use it pretty much in every situation. Like, business is really, really, really easy until you add humans. We make things so darn complicated. And the reason why most companies don't get to 8 figures, 9 figures, and beyond, it's not the business, the product, or anything else. It's the owner that's normally the biggest hurdle.
And what is the owner doing incorrectly that's holding them back? Is it trying to do everything themselves, not knowing the numbers? Is what drives you crazy as far as the mistakes that these business owners are making?
Yeah, so let me say to all those listening to it, I don't see them as mistakes. I see them, Robert, in a different way. There's a lot of stuff we know we don't know, but there's also a lot of stuff we don't know we don't know. So there's no mistakes in my world. It's like sometimes, I mean, my number one thing is, I have 4 criteria for any business owner that I get to work with, support, and mentor is you have to be committed, you have to be decisive, you have to be trainable and coachable, and you have to be resourceful. Those are the 4 essence of what everything I do. The challenging part for many business owners, they're stubborn as freaking heck. They're not trainable, they think they are, and they're not teachable, and they're not resourceful. Those 4 criteria for me are very important for me in growing businesses and supporting people. But it's a really, when I see people, like, it's not like they are doing something wrong. I walk it like I was on a call yesterday, in fact, with a gentleman who's got a phenomenal line of products. And he's like, Colin, I've been doing this for 17 years. We're around 4 million in revenue. We've just gone from the red into the black. I'm like, 17 years? I'd be dead by then. I even couldn't do that. So I said to him, well, how do you get to 40 million in the next 2 years? He's like, Colin, I have no idea. I said, see, there's your problem. It's not the business. It's not the product. He could be at 40 million in the next 2 years in a heartbeat if he just changed the way of thinking and surrounded himself with the right people. Robert, the number one thing for all the listeners on this call, surround yourself with people who will raise your game. Don't surround yourself with people that are, squashing you down, holding you back. Like, it's not done this way in our business. The way you change the world is when you get away from the statement, it's not done this way in our industry. When you go away from that statement and you go, how is it done in our industry? Change, like, look for the biggest pain of your customers in your industry and solve that pain. How do you disrupt an industry? By solving the pain that's already existing, like what Airbnb did and what Uber did. They didn't say, well, this is the way the taxi industry has always done it, because they've just been another stupid taxi company. Be like, no, Uber changed the world because they decided to do it differently and listen to the pain of the customer. All of our customers have a pain that we keep on saying, well, that's just the way we do it. Solve that pain, change your industry.
I love it. Yeah, and it makes perfect sense the way that you put it there, right? Because if you're unhappy where you're at and things are just settled by random chance, then if you keep doing that, you'll get those same results. But if you do something courageous and you take a risk and you listen to those customers and you do kind of the temporarily hard thing, then you can go out and get those different results. And so, is there something concrete that you have as far as like a really good scaling tip, like in the septic industry, or your friend who you're asking about scaling the $40 million, like what should he do? Should he be talking to those customers and like doing something new? Like what's the big jump start that could be applied for someone that needs to take new actions?
So the big thing for me would be, number one, you build out a cash flow that takes you, okay, let's say we take this gentleman and we say, okay, we're going to build out a cash flow for the next 24 months of how he's going to get to 40 million. And, what are the distribution channel challenges we might have, or the manufacturing challenges we might have, all those kind of things. Okay, so we get that and we put everything into a cash flow, and then we look at, okay, what would be the ideal situation? And the biggest question is always who. Who do we need on our team to get us to that next level? So I'll give you an example. So I have a product launch in a couple of months called Crockett. It's like, everyone knows Yeti and Stanley products and what have you, but we have a thermal bowl that is the same, but it has a patented lid so that you can take your food with you and you keep your food warm. When we took that product over, we built out this cash flow. We're like, how do we get this company to $50 million in 24 months? We build it out. We're like, who's the team we need? What kind of money do we need to pay them? Everything. And then we go raise the money, bring the money in, and explode the product. At the same time, we say, who was the company that made Yeti so successful? And there's one company, I'm not saying there's only one company, but the one company that supported them a lot is out of Minnesota, and they helped Yeti go from, it's a marketing company, go from like a $200,000 company to like a $2.2 billion company in 4 years. I'm like, great, let's get in touch with them. We get in touch with them. They're like, send us the product. We'll have a look. We can't guarantee we're going to love the product. They love the product. They've rebranded the product. They've helped us launch. We've done our videos for us. We're working with them. Why would you try and do it yourself when there's somebody out there that's already done it in your space? Maybe not exactly the same product, but definitely done it. So I'm like, I never stop thinking who. So you build this cash flow out, and you be in the cash flow. I'm going to hire a CEO at $400,000. I'm going to hire the right chief technical person that can come on and design products and make sure we're in alignment with that. That's going to cost us $200,000. Put it all in, and then just go raise the money. Where I see a lot of business owners challenged, they don't think about raising money, or they're adverse to debt. And I'm like, don't be adverse to debt. And then a lot of them will say, yes, but Colin, I have to give away a chunk of my company. I don't want to give away equity. And a lot of people out there will, you'll hear a lot of statements are, never give up equity. Well, then grow slowly, And it doesn't always have to be equity. It can maybe go and, raise money as debt, which is another way of doing it. Like there's so many ways of doing things, or a combination of doing things, Robert, that when we change our our mindset, our perception of the world changes. The stories change. But the biggest part is a lot of times when I'm in a $4 million or $5 million or $6 million company, I get in there and I'm like, I can tell you, most of the time the owner needs to be shifted. If they don't change their mindset, we need the owner sometimes potentially to take a back seat while we bring in the right person to skyrocket that company. Sadly, so many people are so close to their product, they won't allow that to happen. It's like, this is my baby. I'm like, if your baby could be birthed beautifully and grow up to be a kick-ass adult that's amazing and has everything it needs, and we could do that quickly, would you rather have that or do it slowly yourself and hopefully get there in the future? I guarantee with a team we'll get to where we need to get to. And people are like, Colin, I never thought this way. I'm like, yes, because we keep on getting taught, don't give up equity, don't take on debt, don't do this, don't do that. Look at the biggest, most successful companies. Like you said, the beautiful word, you said courageous. Courageous people get courageous results. If you want outstanding results, you got to do outstanding things. If you want ordinary results, then do ordinary.
Very cool and very inspiring. And that is why we're listening to you here, because if we just wanted to have that same closed off thinking, we'd listen to our family or that neighbor down the street or the guy at the grocery store. But here we're talking to someone that has this different way of thinking, so that way we can get these different results. And instead of saying, well, I'll just build this and I'll kind of solve this problem and get to it over 6 years, that you're the kind of guy that says, let me figure out how much money I need. Let me build out the org chart. Let me figure out who needs to be in place. That way it can just get done and we can stop messing around. And so this is wonderful advice already. And so what's really interesting about these sorts of discussions and with the podcast is talking about failure. And I assume that you being an entrepreneur and you acting fast, you've had all kinds of missteps. And you said they're not mistakes, but sometimes there are times when, we go in the wrong direction and we learn from that. And so do you have a fun story to tell us about some of these times when the business didn't go quite right and you corrected it?
Let me be very, very transparent. If you haven't lost a company or two, through like some decision making you've made, then you really haven't grown yet. That's when you grow the most. I've had catastrophic stories during my career. And I think the biggest thing from all those, not all those, but let's say I'll take one. I had a skincare company. I fell in love with the product. It was my favorite thing in the world. And, we went through the 2008 crash, and I had to eventually give up the company. I gave it up in 2010. And, I sold the product off. I had to sell this product off. It was like $400,000 worth of product. I sold to a liquidating firm for like $20,000, and I stood in my driveway. I'll never forget this. I had all this product in my garage, and I saw the product go down the road in the liquidating truck. My wife was jumping for joy as if she won the lottery, and of course I'm crying like a baby in the driveway going, my baby's dead, and that's the kind of stuff. But the learning I took from that, Robert, was probably the best thing for me ever. These things happen to us. I'd made decisions in that company which I thought were the right decision at the time. I didn't know the economy was going to tank. I didn't know certain things were going to happen. And you know what? I look back at that, and even during the time, I look at that and I go, this is really important for me. It's helping me grow. I call it university fees of life. The best university fees are when you have the poop hit the fan. It's like, that's when you really learn. I was out for lunch. I'll give you an example. I was out for lunch with a very good friend of mine that owns $1 billion of real estate. And he said to me, this was recently, he said to me, Colin, I have a lawyer on staff full time. I'm like, why? He says, because the more successful you get, fair people are fair people and you treat them fairly. Idiots sometimes need idiot treatment. He said, it's just a par for the course. When you more successful you become, the more people start to challenge you. So for those of people listening, as you grow and scale companies, stuff starts to happen. There's stuff that will challenge you. Lawsuits might come against you. There might be, or against the company or whatever. I'm not putting the intention out that needs to happen, but sadly, it does happen. We're in North America. This kind of stuff does happen, but every single one of them, if you could see the gratitude in every situation, I'll give you one small little teaching tip here, Robert, I do a lot of work on mindset and really helping people, because you don't get the mindset right, you can't help any business owner, is most of us say we are grateful people. You might say to me, Colin, I'm a very grateful person. I like gratitude. I live gratitude. I'm like, yeah, I'd say that's probably 50% of the time. Most people's gratitude is conditional. We are conditionally gratitudinal. I like to say to people, you should be grateful when the most negative things happen to you. In that moment, be grateful for what's happening. Be grateful for the learning that's coming. Be grateful for what needs to happen. And when people see gratitude and live gratitude every minute of the day, those are grateful people. Otherwise, you're just a person who has conditional gratitude. Then you cannot say, I'm a person that's always grateful. Always grateful means, I know, I've had lawsuits against me. I've had challenges against me over the years. When that happens to me, or a customer's upset with a product we delivered or whatever, I'm like, thank you for this. What am I meant to learn? Put me on the right path. I'm a big believer in God. So I'm like, God, what am I meant to do here? I'm fully grateful for this situation. Give me the guidance and the solution needed to support this person. And every single time the solution comes in, if you start to call the customer names or that business partner name or whatever, you're now conditionally gratitude. You only have conditional gratitude, and you don't serve anyone. You just attract more negativity towards you.
That's huge. I love this. And I'm kind of burning that phrase into my mind. Thank you for this. What am I meant to learn? And I find myself relating to this a lot, that I have to, like, on a daily basis, put the conscious mental energy back into these things like gratitude, just to overcome all this negativity that you spoke of, right? The temptation to fight back, or to let the stress or the anxiety or the anger win, and go through gratitude. And it's kind of like eating, right? You eat and you're okay for a while, but then you're hungry again. And it seems like with some of the mindset, you have to like continuously apply this, and it's not always easy and it's not always automatic, and you have some good and bad days. But like, it seems like, at least with me, this gratitude especially, I have to just like always make sure and make a deliberate focus to do this. I mean, am I weird, or am I like everyone else, like you?
No, look, I think the other piece I want to make sure that people are very clear on is that, and the listenership is really clear on, is that I am not saying don't take action when you need to take action legally. I'm saying that, you know what, you can be grateful for the learning that's come from a situation, but at the same time, you always need to protect yourself and say, you know what, I'm here, the situation exists, right now, this person definitely is incorrect. You get the right legal advice, and you do what you need to do to protect you. Like I said, idiots get idiot treatment. People who are fair, you don't often need legal, because people who are fair, you always figure things out. It's just those people that decide that they want to challenge you in some way or form. You've still got to protect you. So I want to be super clear for people on that it's just be aware that I'm not saying be grateful, what can I learn from the situation, and just lie down and be a doormat. Not at all. Know when you need to take action. Still be grateful in that moment and move forward, because that kind of stuff still, you've got to protect your company, your products, your patents, your trademarks, whatever you need to protect. You're still got to do that, but do it with a grateful heart. Don't do it with a resentful heart, because remember, resentment is just simply you drink the poison and expecting them to die, and that doesn't really work for anybody.
100%. It definitely does not. And so I can definitely relate to a lot of this in taking like well thought out actions, right? You think about like Winston Churchill, he didn't do like the knee jerk reactions. He would take a quick nap and then do what needed to be done. And so I like that the nuance of that well, you have to have the thick skin, but also make the right decision and do what benefits you and just do what makes sense. And so as far as the kind of the entrepreneur mindset and the thinking in the right way, like did you have any kind of aha moments where maybe beforehand you kind of were didn't have your head on right and afterwards you were a more evolved person? Was it during that liquidation truck, or was there just another time when you just went from past Colin to present Colin where you began thinking and acting in the way that you were supposed to?
Yeah, what a great question. I think Colin is always evolving, just so you know that. That's just part of my life and who I am. I'm always evolving and looking for people, like I said to you earlier, like people to expand my consciousness and my way of thinking as well as who I surround myself with. So I'll give you one that changed my world many, many years ago, and I use it still to this day. So I was watching a video with Mark Victor Hansen in it, and of course they were launching the book 1 Minute Millionaire, and they had a room. There was maybe 20 people in this room, and they were doing a mastermind on how to, you know, sell 1 million copies of this book pre-launch. And so Mark tells them what he wants to do, and he's like, "How do we sell 1 million copies pre-launch?" I mean, remember, most people never sell 1 million copies after launch, never mind pre-launch. So he says this, and Joe Sugarman, bless his soul, he died just recently. Joe Sugarman puts his hand up and says, um, I want to ask one question, and I want to get this room thinking differently. And this changed my world, Robert. He said, most of you are thinking, how do we find 1 million people to buy one book? He's like, how do we find one person to buy 1 million books? How do we find 4 people to buy 250,000 books? That changed my world so much. So, like, I was on this call yesterday with this gentleman, with this company. I'm not going to say which company. I think it's unfair because I've said some of the numbers. But I was on the call with him, and the one thing I said to him was, you keep on, like, we all talk about how do we build a database? How do we build a database? How do we build a database? I'm like, I say, who has the database that I want? Because that's how you scale a company. You know, who has this database? Influencers are one thing. They don't really have your database. They have some following around who might be your customer. But I'm like, who has this database? So, like, let's just say, you're in a certain vertical. It's like they're not competitors to you, but they're super complementary to your product line that you have. But they might have a database of 1 million people, 1 million subscribers, or whatever. How do you do a JV with that list so that all of a sudden you're scaling your company quicker than you ever thought you could scale it? He looked at me on the call. He's like, Colin, I said to him, I know 5 companies that have database of 1 million people or more in that database. That is a legit database, email, phone number, everything, that I could do intros for you, and we could get you to $40 million by the end of 2024. He just looked at me. He's like, I've never, ever thought this way. I said, yes, because we always think about building our own databases. Yes, indirectly, as you use those databases, your database builds with your clientele, and they become your customers. But it's always, who has my database? Who has a database I want to scale my business quickly? Instead of always building a database. You know, and that's where my mindset changed. It was that event with Joe Sugarman asking that question, and I'm like, it really just comes down to leverage, OPT, OPM, other people's time, other people's money. But that mindset shift for me was probably the biggest mindset shift in my business career, Robert, where it was like, holy fuck, this is crazy. Like, who has a database that I want? And I've never stopped doing that. And I'm like, how do we approach these different companies? And like I have a handyman company. And I'm like, this company, I need to look for customers for these guys. Where do I find the biggest trades? Like, the biggest customer database or what have you. I never stopped looking at that. Like my Crockett, the one product we have, which is really for the trades industry. It's like, how do I find a trade association that they can do a blast for me, or I can pay them to do a blast to the whole trade organization for our product? And all of a sudden, those people become my clients, and they refer us back out to a whole referral program, create a viral marketing campaign, and all of a sudden things change. All of a sudden, you're selling hundreds of thousands of units of a product when you try and go out the normal way of doing it and run Facebook ads and all that. That's one way of doing it. I am all about efficiency. Not lazy, just efficiency. I'm like, how do I go from point A to B at Mach 3? I want to get there as quickly as I can. And the way you get there is by thinking so differently to the way most people maybe listening to this call are thinking right now.
Amazing. And it seems like so you're and it came up even in the beginning of our conversation, right? You were talking about like acquiring these other businesses that are already successful instead of just going at the slow hard way. Instead of doing things one to one, you do it one to many, right? Who can you acquire? What kind of a joint venture deal can you do? And so this is just amazing to think this way. And it seems like a lot of it comes down to leadership, right? Like you mentioned about like other people's time, other people's money. You say, hey, instead of me doing all this, I'll say, hey, I'm hiring these people to do this for me. I'll go approach these associations, approach these other businesses, and say, here's the plan. Here's what I want to be done. Here's what I want to pay you to promote this. So I love this kind of outside the box thinking, and a lot of it is like reawakening the old ideas, isn't it? Like a lot of us have done these big deals, but then we let years go by and just backslide into the kind of the grinding day by day. We need to think bigger once again. And so I want to make sure that we cover the bases here and that we talk about what you want to talk about. So in our last few minutes here, is there a hidden question in our conversation? Is there a question that you wished I would ask you that I should ask you?
Well, I think one question for me would be, maybe there's two questions that would come up for me. One would be, what's the most important thing in starting a company? I think it would be number one. And number two would be, maybe what's the most impressive book I've ever read as a business owner. And if I answer those for you, the number one thing that I wish I'd learned a long time ago, Robert, and it's like people like say it's so simple. It's so simple, but it's the most important thing. I wish I'd learned one word in scaling companies. Like once you scale companies, the world changes for you. But the word that changed my world is the word trust. Because if you don't trust people to run your company, to take things to the next level, you'll only stay the size of your own mindset. You know, when you trust people, you expand your mindset with their expansive mindset, and now you have exponential growth. But the average person, average business owner, they're only as big as their mindset. The biggest thing we can do is trust. Yes, there might be 7 or 8 figure business owners on this call and what have you. The way we grow that is like, yes, for sure, you've got maybe executive teams and you've grown to that next level and you already trust people, but it's like, can you walk away from your business and let it run by itself? Okay, is your business on full autopilot? If your business is on autopilot, like I'm on a call with you today, I have multiple businesses on full autopilot. You know, significantly growing. We'll have one business at the end of the year, probably hit about 100 million in revenue. Another one will probably hit about 50 million in revenue in about 12 to 24 months' time. Very set growth strategies. We know where we're going with that. That's really important. So the one word is trust. I wish people would really get that. And true trust. Because if you don't trust people, it means you don't trust yourself, which is super interesting. That's a whole different topic and maybe another call some other time. And then my favorite book that I've ever read is not purely business. It's a book that changed my marriage. It changed my relationship with my business partners, changed my relationship with staff, and it's a book called Leadership and Self-Deception. It's by the Arbinger Institute. I've written 4 books. I'm a multi-time best-selling author, what have you. But this book changed my world, Robert. Completely changed my world. It's all about really seeing things. Don't see people inside a box. See them outside the box, and see people for being people, and don't categorize them a certain way. For those of you listening, it will change your marriage. It will change the way you deal with business partners, and probably, and I wish it will become a book you'll study with your executive team and take it into your company. It will change your culture and improve your culture. If you're really good at that culture, let's take it to the next level. So I'll say it again: Leadership and Self-Deception by the Arbinger Institute. It's super interesting. It's a game changer, really game changer book.
Very cool. And I'm looking at it on Amazon right now. Leadership and Self-Deception, Getting Out of the Box by the Arbinger Institute. And you're saying that as far as going on this scaling journey, it's so important to trust because that means giving up somewhat of the control freak mindset and letting others be great and do their thing and expand their mindset. And that also leads to you trusting yourself and taking the calculated risks and making those decisions. And so you've given us so much to think about, but luckily a podcast is only a little bit of a taste of the person. And the idea is that someone listens to a podcast and they say, oh man, this guy, Colin Sprake, and everything he has going on, I want to find out more about him. So how can someone do that? What's the next step as far as someone making their mark in the world and finding out more about you? What's the website to go to, or what's the contact information?
Yeah, I mean, the best thing for me, I mean, you can search online, so many videos online and what have you. The easiest way is probably just to email me directly. You know, my company's Make Your Mark, so my email address is Colin S, so COLINS at MYM for makeyourmarksuccess.com. So Colin S at MYMsuccess.com. You can go to MYMsuccess.com as well, and you can contact me through there as well. I am always happy to help, happy to jump on a call, support you in any way I can for anyone that's listening to this. If you have a burning question or a big challenge right now that you're going through, or just want to know something that's going to take you to the next level, stop trying to do it by yourself. Let's jump on a call. Let's answer those questions. There's no obligation. I'm not here to I'm going to send you a whole bunch of stuff. If you decide I'm a really good fit for you and we can show you how to get there and walk you through a path to going from 7 to 8 to 9 figures, let's book a call together and email me directly and let's have some fun together. At the end of the day, I only care that you get to be more successful, because the more successful you are, the more people you help and the more we make a bigger change on this planet.
Very great. I love your abundance mindset here, and I love your generosity. And you and I both know, Colin, that so many people, they hear a call to action like that, and only a very small percentage actually take action. And that's the kind of people that you want to be talking to, right? The people that say, oh, there's a million excuses, and say, oh, I have something to do right now where I can't find my phone. But the ones that actually email you, book that call, have that conversation, talk about their problems, their obstacles, their hopes and dreams, you get them pointed on the right track. Those are the real winners. Those are the people that will succeed in life and rise above the pain and the frustration and everything else and do what needs to happen. So that way they can run a successful business and live their best life. You said that that email address is Colin S at mymsuccess.com. So do it right now while it's still fresh on your mind. Even if you're in the car, take out your laptop or your phone and send that email right now, Colin S at mymsuccess.com, and tell Mr. Colin Sprake, and that last name is Sprake. Tell Colin that you heard him on the Scaling Secrets podcast and that you'd like to have that conversation just to discuss some business, discuss some problems and solutions. And Colin would be more than happy to speak with you and have some fun and have that chit chat and just end up at the end of the call, everyone feeling very great and very fulfilled and happy. And so as we're closing up this call, and ideally people are sending that email message, Colin, do you have any final parting words of advice? Do you have a fun quote or lesson just to wrap up our conversation?
Yeah, I think, one of my favorite quotes that I use frequently is, wherever you go, there you are. So it's one of those things that we spend a lot of time, changing careers or changing companies or doing different things. But unfortunately, it's not the change that we need to make. The change is actually in ourselves. Because we take our crap with us wherever we go. Excuse the French, but it is what it is. It's like we take our stuff with us. So we can go to a different place. We can go try a different company. We can go do different things. Wherever we go, there we are. So it's really about changing ourselves. For me, when people ask me, how do you scale? I'm like, you scale when you scale your mindset. That's what you need to do. When you get a scaling mindset and you think you've got it, that's a time to be really nervous, because when you scale and you get a scaling mindset, you need to keep on doing that all the time. So I'm always surrounding myself with amazing people. I really mean this. Book a call with me. I will get on a call. If I can introduce you to a who that can help you, I will introduce you to that who. I am very much about resources. I am highly, highly connected because of what I've done and the number of people I've trained and coached over the world, or all over the world. And I'm like, let's have a chat. If you're thinking, well, maybe I'm going to be sold something, The opportunity you will miss, I can promise you, is worth way more than what your time is or anything else. I will serve you, help you, and get you to that next level. And it can be something simple. If you think you're already there, that's also very dangerous. I'm always jumping on calls, going out for lunch with people, going out and meeting with friends of mine who challenge me to be better, bigger, and bolder every single day.
Exciting. Well, it is time to do that. Time to be better, bigger, and bolder. Take action. Colin S at mymsuccess.com. Have that conversation. And Colin, it's been quite a blast speaking with you. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing some of these success nuggets, being humble, sharing some stories, and I really appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Robert. It's a sincere pleasure. And for all those listening,